We're delighted to welcome onto the 966 Renad Aljefri and Sara bin Laden. Renad and Sara recently took part in the second cohort of the Atlantic Council's Women Innovators Fellowship, known as the WIN Fellowship, a program launched by the empowerME initiative at the Rafik Hariri Center for the Middle East by venture capitalist Amjad Ahmad, a previous guest of the 966, we should mention. The WIN Fellowship program is a collaboration between the Atlantic Council and Georgetown University, offering a structured, fully sponsored year-long executive training program, mentoring and networking opportunities with leading U.S. and MENA business executives, government officials, and policy experts. The top participants, and Renad and Sara are both selected for this, attend a fully sponsored trip to the United States for leadership training at Georgetown. Just so cool, guys. Thanks for joining us, Renad and Sara, and welcome to the 966.
Thank you for having us.
That's a great intro by Lucian. We want to take a moment to give a special shout out to empowerME. We're big fans of Amjad Ahmad, who is a very bright guy and very capable. And he sort of he keeps doing. He's still in investment, but he's sort of spearheading this program, which we think is terrific. And we should also do a shout out to some of the other partners, because I guess the U.S. Embassy in Riyadh coordinated on this, as well as the AmCham KSA Women's and Business Committee. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We think they're doing great work at both the embassy and AmCham, and corporate sponsors UPS and PepsiCo. We're big fans of PepsiCo. We're hoping to have the CEO of Middle East, Umar Sheikh, come on in a little bit. This is really a prestigious program, and it runs, it's a year program. This year, your cohort just finished in March 2023, started in March 2022. And just for context, there were 33 women who were accepted into the program, and then just 5 who were selected, you two included, to do a roadshow. But let's go back to the beginning. How did each of you get connected to this program?
So I can go first. I was actually doing my day-to-day at work, and I honestly did not see anything related to this program. And then suddenly I get in my LinkedIn from a best friend of mine. She's like, apply now. And then 2 days later, she's like, did you apply? And I'm like, I will apply. And then I literally applied. A week later, they sent me, you passed the first stage. We'll do, please fill up the following information. And then I was accepted into the program. So it was quite a smooth process, but it was just like, I keep telling her. And when I won, I told her, I won because you pushed me to do this. And that was amazing
Did she apply? Did she apply?
She didn't actually, because it's more for entrepreneurs and she's more into like a governmental role.
Gotcha.
So that's why.
Cool.
Similar story for you, Renad?
Yeah, very similar story. So one of my friends just sent me the link for the program, and we applied together, and then we both get accepted to the program.
And what was involved? It was an in-place program. Is that correct? How did it work once you were into the process?
So it was a virtual program. What happened was there was a curriculum, and they explained to us all the different modules that were part of the program. They were all related to having a business. So you had to have a business in order for you to start this program with them, because they took you through all the stages of being an entrepreneur, all the way to the details of the finances, and then ending on the note of pitching to actual investors and to actual judges, and moving on to the next element of that, which was winning and going off to the roadshow. And so they really started it out with just explaining all of that. The first entire month was all about explaining what it is that we were to do. It was more about explaining who we are together as the bios of each of the attendees, as well as the speakers that we're going to hear moving forward. They also had the mentoring program, which was like, it was a must. It wasn't an optional thing. You had to find at least 2 mentors, and you had to do 1, 2, 3. They also had the peer-to-peer program, which were, for us, this is all interesting because one of the best benefits, and I remember my friends in the program also seconded this, and they kept saying that the best thing about the program was the network, is because we are talking about people that Renad and I are in the same city. We never met before this program. And that just tells you how sometimes, no matter how much social media access we have and how much connectivity we're supposed to be in, we really are not that connected. And programs like these are the ones that actually bring us together in the same frame of mind, where we get to understand each other and get to kind of grow together.
We had very early in the 966, May Al-Mozaini came on. I don't know if you know May. She's in the Eastern Province, but she heads the NUS program, which is half. And she was a long time Aramco executive, and then had went out on her own. And what the NUS does is exactly what you're talking about: provide mentors for young entrepreneurs, and particularly women, because she did not have them when she was going through. She's a generation ahead of you, but so she's trying to make it better for you. So you have 33 women, 33 entrepreneurs in this program, and it's a virtual program. Are you ever together, or is it how does it work?
So it was a Zoom program. We were all on Zoom on different classes. We had virtual sessions, things that we would do on our own time. We had to go through material, we had to answer some homework, whether it was on like a forum and communicate with that. And then we had every 2 weeks we had a virtual session together with our professor from Georgetown. They would change them every time depending on the topic. We would have an open discussion, we would discuss the assignment, we would go through one of the forums that we had to comment or discuss on, and we would also ask questions about things related to our businesses, related to the topic, have group discussions or even group activities in that session. And then we go back to the next module, which is the next part of that program, and we repeat this again and again.
So I want to get to each of your areas, what you're doing individually, Renad, but you two were one of 5. So you already have a hyper select group, and then they did another hyper selection to come down to 5 to do what they called a road show. Did you have to apply for that, or were you selected out of the group? Renad, I mean, was it another application process, or did they just decide, these are our superstars, we want them to come over?
No, basically it was a pitch competition. So we had the pitch. I think they selected 15 out of the 30, as I remember, and then they had us go through the pitching competition, and then they chose the top 5 from that.
Was that in English and in Arabic, or like how was the pitch done?
Just English.
Just in English. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, so you win the pitch competition. This sounds like Eurovision,
or Shark Tank, yeah.
Shark Tank, yeah, exactly. So you win the pitch competition, which means you're coming to the States and you're going to do this delegation. And you went to can you tell us about that experience? Where you went, who you saw. You mentioned we were talking a little bit beforehand, but I don't want to give that away. But how was that experience? Did you come over together, or and did you first meet? You and Renad and Sara, because one of the fun things about doing this, when I send invitations, you both individually said, I love Renad or Sara. I would love to do something with Renad or Sara. So it was very nice. So clearly you guys hit it off. Did you meet in Jeddah beforehand, or did you meet when you did the road show?
So throughout the program, I'll talk about the online, you talk about when we got there. So
Perfect.
Online in the program, we honestly just knew each other by names and faces, but we never really had like a deeper connection throughout. We just knew, all right, this is Renad, she has a company called Adasra, but we don't really know a lot of specifics. It was more, we were focusing on whoever was in our teams. So we were divided into teams, and she was never on my team. So we never really got that chance to do a one-on-one. But then when we were chosen for the roadshow, everything changed. And I'll leave that to Renad.
So basically, the best thing about the program was the networking. So they chose the 5 of us, and each one of us didn't know anything about the other people. And then we all met in the hotel lobby. And then after that, we started to know each other. And right now, I really love each one of the 4 fellows, and I really consider them my friends. So yeah, so it was
Talking about hotel lobby
yeah.
in US. So we waited all the way until we got to the US to meet each other.
Yeah, and the interesting thing, both of me and Sarah were in a co-working space, the same co-working space in Jeddah, basically, but we never get a chance to meet with each other. And then we, yeah, we met in Washington, D.C.
That's the magic of networking. That's beautiful. So, what was your favorite, each of you, what was your favorite part of the roadshow? And you maybe a couple, but if there's one, what did you like most?
The networking, of course.
Networking?
Yeah.
Personally, it was like being on panels, talking with different people with so many years of experience, and then they're sitting there listening to us and wanting to know more about our experience and being super proud of each of the other fellows that is sitting next to you and answering those questions with that confidence, being proud of what she's doing and the hardships that she's talking about, because we all relate. And for me, that was the best part of the entire experience.
Let's talk about what each of you is doing, the initiatives. You're both young, Saudi entrepreneurs, but you're doing vastly different things. And in my opinion, serving distinct needs in Saudi Arabia. And when I was talking with Amjad about the finalists, this and that, and I said, well, I'd really like these two. And I'll tell you why. Renad, I have a special needs kid. And what you're doing, I think, is amazing. And I also know that his mother is the one that makes his world go. And, she's a tremendous advocate. And I'm fully aware that not every kid gets this. And not every kid has the gift or the benefit of a mom who is capable and motivated to be an advocate, but that's really what's needed. And we live in a 1 million person county, Fairfax County, outside of Washington, D.C., a wealthy county, has lots of services, but even in that milieu, kids fall through the cracks. So if we can talk a little bit about what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Okay. So I will start by answering what I'm doing. So basically at Adastra, we are trying to connect therapists with families that have kids with special needs. So basically we send therapists to people's houses. So I'm going to start with a story. So a few years ago, I was in the US, and over there I had my son Khalid. When Khalid was about 2 years old, he was diagnosed with severe autism, and we really struggled to be able to get his home-based therapeutic services started. When we returned back to Saudi, we found out that even the concept of home-based therapeutic services is not yet well defined. So I thought if I needed to find a good therapist for my son, then I will need to start at Astra. Basically, there is no other choice. So basically, I started this because I needed the service and I needed to use the service. And we started about 2 years ago, and right now we are operating in more than 59 different cities and towns in Saudi. We started with a vision that as long as there is a child with special needs in a small town or even in an area where education or therapeutic services is not reachable, and there is a therapist who is capable of delivering these services, then we can just go to that place, train the therapist, offer a very high quality early intervention services, and of course, offer all of the necessary supervision for that therapist.
Are you working sort of both ways, both in providing a networking opportunity for families with kids with special needs, as well as sort of pushing public officials to create more and more opportunities, more availability for services for special needs? Are you sort of between both worlds?
Yeah. So basically, if you need to make high quality early intervention services accessible for all of the different children with special needs, then you will really have to get involved with the government and with the officials and change the laws over there so you can give these kids the accessibility. And the good thing about Saudi right now, I'm not really sure how familiar are you with the system right now, but we are just being in I would say, on a train heading toward the development. So if you want to make a change, you can just jump on that train and make the change by yourself. Like all of the different doors are open. What you need to do is just jump on the train and make the development. Yeah, and make it, yeah, exactly. So I was fortunate enough to return back in just the right time and started Astra. So if I would have started a few years ago, maybe that would not have been very feasible, especially because we sent female therapists to people's houses, and that was not very acceptable in Saudi a few years ago. But right now, all of the different therapists are very proud of the work they are doing. And yeah.
We've had a lot of young Saudi professionals on the show, and that's a common theme. I think, Lucian, you'd agree. There's a sense of possibility. Like, oh, you know, I don't need to hesitate. You know, I can make things are moving so quickly, and I can have a voice and have input and have impact. We've had a number of people who started their own companies or doing really fascinating things in your demographic. Very interesting. So you're also doing right now, you're in a sort of entrepreneurship program with Stanford University. Is it along the same lines at Astra?
Yes.
All right. Fascinating. Sara, let's talk about you. Like I said, I may know your hotshot executive cousin who I hope to get on the show, and this will be great to have you be talking on the show before he ever has a chance. But you're right in the heart of a really fascinating sector in Saudi Arabia. And we had a couple episodes ago, Iyad Al-Bayouk, who's a country manager for Flat 6 Labs. So he knows all about the VC and the seed capital, and he knows all about this sector. So you're in e-commerce, which I think close to, estimated to be projected to be a $13 billion sector by 2025. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got there and what you're doing?
Sure. So if I can speak a bit about like how I got into e-commerce, it would mainly start back when I first was in my last year of university. I was a computer information system programmer. We were focusing more on web. It was the beginning of what is a website and how can I make a website. And I was extremely interested in creating e-commerce. And I worked as a web developer for a couple of years before realizing, all right, I like what this is about, but I like to understand the business behind it. And I like to connect between the business people and the tech people. So I speak tech, but I connect it better by being a business person, which made me want to go and do my master's in computer information systems. And then I did my master's and I did an MBA in innovation and technology. And I started in e-commerce at the same time. So I knew the ins and outs of an e-commerce, and that it's not only just create a website and that's it. There's so much operation and logistic that comes behind it, and the system is the core to actually make everything start working. Now, seeing that and seeing everything that's growing while I was in Canada, I was using a Shopify store. That was pre having any Shopify local here in Saudi, which currently is Jeddah and Sara. But that was before that era. And what I was kept thinking about was like, why don't we have something similar to this? Like, why is Amazon only Amazon in the US? Why don't we have things similar to that? Why don't we have that growth, that technology, that revenue that we can actually generate from our existing market that we have? Why does everything have to go out? And then we realized we're like, because no one enabled them. Everyone is focusing on their own problem, and no one is focusing on kind of helping solve the secondary problems. When we took a look at Amazon, we realized that the majority of Amazon's revenue was coming from ads or marketing advertisements that is happening on inside of Amazon. And when we looked at the majority of the main players in the Saudi region, we found that majority of them can be the next Amazons just by utilizing ad space directly onto their systems. And that's where Quantum came in. Quantum is basically an ad tech company that provides the technology and solutions for e-commerce companies to actually help them generate a secondary revenue stream and providing them those marketing and technology solutions so they can focus on their core, which is basically providing better services and qualities on their orders. And we can help them provide a better service by targeting those ads, segmenting those ads so that you as an end consumer can actually see ads that are relevant to what you purchase and what you need, instead of just getting random ads that everyone else is getting as well.
It seems like you've done a remarkable job. You have close to 3,000 clients, is that right?
So we have around 3,000 clients on our system today. We work with, so we built the entire ecosystem, because when we said ad tech at the beginning, when we came into Saudi, a lot of people have never heard of that word before. Even though they do use Instagram, they know Facebook ads, they just don't understand that the underlying technology is called ad tech, which is basically an ad server, and everything goes on and everything is more dynamic and automated. So what we built was an ecosystem where we connect those partners, we call them partners, which are considered those publishers or the people who you would publish your ad onto, which are the e-commerce. And we connect them with advertisers all through this environment. And so by connecting those people, that's how we can actually expand our network. So we have clients as big as Lipton, P&G, Unilever, Mara'i, any of the local players that are in FMCG, or they're trying to showcase their services. And we just directly connect them with these e-commerce stores directly.
Do you find in your cohort group, the young entrepreneurs come from all walks of life, all academic and educational backgrounds?
Well, yeah. So I really think that there are many different talents across many different educational levels, but I think not that many people highlight it. So yeah.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter, right?
Not at all. Like I've had a lot of friends or even mentors who don't even have a bachelor's education, but they're 30 years in the market. They have the experience and the expertise, and they know what they're saying, and they know how to explain it, and they're well versed, better than I am, than I could ever be, you know? And it really depends on what their experience is, how they can actually articulate it and explain to other people, because you can be great at what you do, but if you can't explain it properly, then do you really know what you're doing? That comes up to the communication and like different aspects and skills that you actually have to get.
Yeah, absolutely. So go ahead, Renad. Sorry.
For me, I think it's about passion, and it's about the sense of possibility. So you really need to feel that it's possible for you to do this thing and succeed on it. Yeah. And if there are things that you need to change to do it, you have the possibility to change it.
Where do you want to see Ad Astra go, Renad?
Well, so if we are talking just about Saudi right now, I really want to make early intervention services accessible of all of the children with special needs or developmental delays in Saudi, regardless where they live or their family's economical level.
And so you want to move from Jeddah all the way, throughout countrywide, right?
Yeah, so right now we are covering more than 59 different cities and towns, and even very small areas that education and therapeutic services were not even reachable.
Well, that's impressive. And when did you found Ad Astra?
About 2 years ago.
Oh, that's terrific. Do you have investors, or are you working with the government and local municipalities? How are you building?
And so until now, no, we don't have investors. So we worked with nonprofit organizations, we worked with insurance companies, and we worked with the government.
Interesting.
I think now is the right time to do anything in Saudi Arabia. Honestly, really, like the doors are open. There's a lot of communication between the ministries and the people. And you're seeing so much change happening, whether it's on an entrepreneurial level, whether it's on a regulation level. You're seeing cities being built, new cities being built, with so many opportunities that you can jump on and try to see how you can actually solve different gaps in the market. And there are so many gaps, so many opportunities to actually build into it. So the opportunity is now. It's just, how do you start? How do you sustain? How do you maintain? It's like any other environment, but it's just that everything is times 10, because you have to be faster. You'll get left behind.
Exactly. So it's just like a train heading toward the development. And if you want to make a change, just jump on the train. But if you miss the train, then I don't really think you will be able to catch it. Yeah.
This is very funny. That metaphor of the train, Dr. Mark Thompson, who was, again, a previous guest, he does socioeconomic studies for the King Faisal Center for Islamic Studies and Research in Islamic Studies. And he used that analogy exactly. He was talking about Vision 2030. He said, he basically said, I don't really care what anybody else thinks. The Saudi youth have already gotten on the train and it's left the station. And now that he was saying they've embraced it so thoroughly and the mindset is so profoundly embedded now that as he was saying, you know, you can talk about any demographic, but the young people are taking this and they're going. So it's interesting for you to use that image as well, Renad, because it seems.
Renad loves her trains.
What's that?
Renad loves her trains.
Yeah.
And quantum, what is quantum? Where's quantum headed? It sounds like they're growing quickly and really, and obviously, and as Lucian commented on, that's a nice offices there. By the way, are you familiar with Mukatafa? They just came out with a study on e-commerce, and I was interested in what you were talking about, local e-commerce, because what this study found was close to 60% of e-commerce is cross-border in Saudi Arabia. So significantly higher percentage than other countries. And so, you know, the message was Saudi e-commerce companies need to learn to are at a competitive disadvantage for a number of reasons, higher costs and this sort of thing, but they need to right size that percentage. So more e-commerce is executed in country. But your ad business doesn't matter, cross-border, local.
Exactly. It doesn't matter. So our goal is hopefully to reach and become the leading ad tech company in the MENA region. And that's what we're striving for. We started with Saudi. We're currently operating in Saudi, UAE, and Kuwait. Hopefully by the end of this quarter, Qatar as well. And honestly, we're talking about globalization and just having offices and people dealing with everything remotely. So you really don't need to be physical anywhere anymore, you know? And that's the life that we live right now because it's fast and it's fast paced and you really need to get on that train that Renad was talking about and you just need to keep going. And so honestly, it is cross-border. It is something that we will continue to expand and grow. And honestly, there's a huge challenge because there are a lot of regulatory laws that are coming up that are being put unconstrained onto e-commerce. There's also different avenues and aspects that are being opened up to them. We're trying to grow in the export business instead of increasing our import business. And there are a lot of changes that are happening there. The government is also supporting through a lot of programs, whether it's Muja'at programs or even funding different university or zones or valleys, as they call them, like Mecca Valley, Wadi Mecca, and the likes to actually support with also Sanabilal's investments, works with 500 to kind of enable this, Taqaddam, which is in Kaus. So many different programs, accelerators and incubators, Garage, they all work together to kind of, you know, support everything that's happening and build that network. Because at the end of the day, everything is about network. You want to grow, you want to succeed, you want to learn, you need a network.
Speaking of networks, both of you were recommended by a friend to join the WIN Fellows. They've got another cohort group coming through. Are you recommending your friends apply?
We already sent it out.
So the network grows. That's beautiful.
Exactly.
Wonderful. Renad Aljefri, Sara bin Laden, thank you so much for being with us on the 966. A special opportunity. I hope we will track each of you and wish you great success in your ventures. I'm sure that'll be coming. And next time in Jeddah, I'd love to see both of you.
Please do. We expect you here in the office anytime you